everyone. Hello, hello. Happy Friday. It doesn't feel like a Friday to me. I don't know why, but it doesn't. And I'm hoping we've got the Facebook Live situation on my phone fixed. In case anybody else is having that problem, I took it down to our wireless center and they had me, or they did it. They, let me think of the right words. Oh, they cleared the cookies. They cleared the cache on both Facebook and the internet. Then we uninstalled Facebook. We waited a few minutes and then we reinstalled Facebook and everything seems to be working fine. It hasn't shut down on me once and I'm completely shocked because it did it 3 times, 3 lives in a row on me. And I thought I was gonna have to get another phone, but it has nothing to do with the phone is what they told me. I'm just looking right now to see if I can bring you up, if it's gonna work all the way this time. And I can see comments maybe. Let's turn this down. Where's my, there it is. Okay. Got that turned down. Let's move that over there. Oh, it's working. Yay! So welcome everybody. I am Susan with the Withered Barn in Homedale, Idaho. And I'm a retailer for IOD, Iron Orchid Designs, as well as DIY paint, as you can see it right here behind me. And today's live, I want to get back to this mannequin. I started this probably 4 months ago. And I just kept getting sidetracked with life. You know how that goes. And then when I would jump back onto it, I was not inspired. And the more pictures I was saving, the more overwhelmed I got. And I finally had to clear my phone out of pictures and clear my head and start fresh. I don't know if you guys have had to do that, but I was so overwhelmed with all the beautifulness that I didn't know where to start and I didn't know what direction to go. Hi Jennifer, how are you? If everybody would just say hello when you come on, let me know where you're watching from. I am going to be going to Lawton, Oklahoma next week for my niece's baby shower. And so I want to hit all the shops I can while I'm there. So if anybody is in Oklahoma or within a couple hours of Lawton, shoot me a message, let me know where you're at. So first thing I'm gonna do, I always take my ring off because so much gunk gets stuck. But you know what, my iPad isn't showing comments. So I guess that's not gonna work. Tap. Nope. Okay, so I'm just gonna turn this iPad off. That's not gonna work. I still have to play with that and figure that one out. So what I'm gonna do, this is a plain, it's a styrofoam mannequin. And I had this sitting around for quite a while. It was broken on the underneath, you know, styrofoam tends to crack, and I glued it, and I wasn't sure what I was gonna do with it. I painted it several times. And so when another retailer from Debbie's Design Diary had posted their mannequin, it was like, oh, light bulb. I knew what I wanted to do. So I'm gonna use this in my store as the display for all of our necklaces. Hi, Stephanie. So this piece right here is a paper clay mold, and this is one that I started the very first time I did it. And then it was about 2 months later, and I added that piece. And about 2 weeks ago, I added this, and then I thought, wait, let me do this live so you guys can see how the molds work, the paper clay, and just getting like a design going. We'll probably have to go through next Friday for another live. So you guys can kind of see a finished product, and then we're going to paint it, and I want to use the new DIY dust on it. So that'll be fun. I haven't used that yet. But we're going to be using the IOD Paper Clay, which is this right here. And this is just air dry. It's super soft, super easy to work with. And I'm going to use my trimmings mold, one of the new ones. Let me see, which one is this? This is trimmings 2. So can you guys see all the detail in there? And the one I'm going to be using is this, the flower mold. Whoops, I'm backwards up here. The flowers, this one right here. Yep, that one right there. And I'm going to be using that on my trim. And I'll show you guys how I fill this in too, where it kind of shrunk a little too much. You can hear the styrofoam on there. So I'm going to take, I've got a couple things here in my way though. I'm going to use cornstarch. I like using cornstarch in my molds, especially when I'm going to be using the same mold multiple times so that my clay residue doesn't stick in there. And I'm having to clean it in between like 2 or 3 times. Hi, Bran. Okay, so I'm going to take just a tiny piece, and your paper clay is good forever as long as you don't let it dry. I've had some in another bag that I found. I had put it away in another box, and it's good to go. You just knead it kind of like you would Play-Doh. And let me grab I'm just going to use a little tiny artist brush for my cornstarch right here. And we're going to just lightly dust, kind of like you would if you were baking with it. Let me move that aside. Don't want too much. And then I'm just going to roll this out a little bit. Thank you. I actually felt good today. Shocker. Okay, whoops, I didn't lock my wheels. Hold on. I don't need to be pushing and have that scoot out from under me. That would that would be horrible. Okay. So I'm just squishing it down in here, and you can see it's really loose, see? Because we put that cornstarch in there. So I'm just going to be really diligent on making sure I am pushing down into my mold. And you can see how uneven it is. And I'll show you a trick. So I use this little tool. You can use a putty knife. You can even use your fingers, but my thumbs tend to start hurting. And using your fingers, you would just do it like this until your surface is flat. That's just too much for me. So I use this little tool. And I just use the corner, the flat edge, and I'm gonna lightly pull and drag, and I pull off my excess. And pull and drag and pull off my excess. Lightly going both ways so that I don't pop it out of the mold. I'm just doing my edges. Now the IOD molds have a micro rim, which makes it super easy to get a flat finish on here. I'll zoom in here in a second. You guys can see that rim. Okay. Let me show you the rim on one of these other ones. So here is what we're talking about, the micro rim. See that little raised edge? That's so you can get a nice smooth finish and you're not having to divot into your mold. So this one is done. And all I'm gonna do is flip it over, and I can feel like a softer spot on the back. And I'm just gonna give it a little push and then lightly pull it out. You can see it came right out. And that doesn't happen every time, I'm not telling you. Not telling you that. Sometimes I have to push it back in the mold because I pushed too hard or I slipped. But that's what is great about it, is you can just squish it back up like Play-Doh and try it again. So here it is. Number one, I'm gonna put some glue on a plate because I'm gonna brush this on. And I'm using just plain old wood glue because I'm gonna be painting it. So I don't care if it's yellow or anything. And another brush. And I'm gonna flip my paper clay mold over, and I'm just going to apply my glue. I did try this with Sure Bond hot glue sticks to see if it would melt my styrofoam, and it didn't. But when my mannequin got cold air, it just kind of popped it right off. So that wasn't good. I think it was the styrofoam with the hot glue. Lay that down. I'm going all the way to the edges. And the trick to applying your glue in your mold to a curved surface or something where gravity is going to be pulling it is don't use a ton of glue, because then it just slides right off. So this, let me see here. Let's do this sleeve. See if I can get it the same spot. I'm just pushing so I don't get air bubbles up under there. Okay. That doesn't look, looks like I need to go up more. Okay, a little more. There we go. Okay. Now, I hope that squeak doesn't drive you guys crazy, because it's already making me a little crazy. And I want this to lip up for this particular one. I've got this one already on there, and I wanted it to lip over, so it kind of looks like a cap sleeve a little bit. And since I'm using wood glue, I will have to babysit. Let me see if I can scoot that over. I will have to babysit a little bit as it's drying and make sure it doesn't slip. And stays nice and tight on my edges. So there's that one. Let's do some more. I'm hoping to at least get the bodice part done. And then maybe next Friday jump on and work on the back and the bottom half. I want to put some of the heirloom roses on there. Ooh, yes. So who all has used that the IOD molds? And if you haven't, what photos that you came across have inspired you to want to try them? Okay, I didn't get this one far enough, so I'm just going to start wiping so I don't have to push it as hard. With the pumpkin patch closed down out here, it's awful quiet. Went from being so noisy with cars to being like you can hear the frogs out there in the ditch. You can see I'm just pulling it back off into my hand as I pull it off. Now if it feels like your clay is getting too dry and you can't get a smooth surface, I have found squirting it with a mister bottle ever so slightly helps. And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I'll show you on the next one because I don't want to mess this one up. There we go. Okay, so here's number 2. Let me do it this way so you guys can see. I'm gonna push it right here. Whoop, there we go. And I'm gonna pull. And there's number 2. Can you guys see the detail in there? So pretty. Okay, let's get this one on. I'm just dipping my glue brush in some water just so it doesn't dry out. In case you were wondering what I was doing over there. And I've got to think of a, oops, got a clump, a color that I want to paint this. But I do know I want to use the dust. Okay. All right, here goes the tricky part. Let's scoop this up. Hopefully you can still see it. Okay. Oh yeah, you can still see it. Okay. So now, I actually stopped this one over here, so I'm going to cut it with my little tool here. Lay that back down. And I'm trying to get this as even as possible. There we go. And then I'm going to put this on. So we can use this one right here. And I'm going to show you guys how I fill in my gaps. I'm gonna have to cut this one right about there, I think. Whoops. Don't want that sticking to my floor. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just make sure that's not slipping. This one, push it down again. Looks good. Okay. So let me do another one of those. I need to dust again because it's stuck just a little bit. And you can see I'm barely using any cornstarch. Okay, leave that aside. Hi, Stacy. Oh, I missed a message. Hold on. Karen, you've used them. Do you use them on furniture or small craft projects, signs? You take the frogs over 50 kids. Yeah. I think I love kids. but I think the older I get, the less tolerant I am. And I just want to go in another room when they start to get loud, or especially if they're arguing. It makes me so anxious. Okay. So let's see if I can get this one to be a little bit dry so I can show you how I missed it. To get my surface flat. And all I'm doing is rolling it out kind of the size of what I need. And I'm just squishing it down in there. Like I said, I don't have the strongest wrist at all. Pinch that off, put it back in my bag. There we go. And if you get in a habit of putting your paper clay that you're working with in a baggie, it won't dry out on you. I've always got another tip. Don't just use a plain sandwich bag because air gets in there. You need to use the freezer bags. Okay, so I'm going to do this roughly and then spray it and show you guys how that little bit of moisture smooths it right back out. That buckled because I have so much cornstarch in here. You heard the words, it's gonna look ugly before it looks pretty. That is definitely, until you get the hang of your little tool of choice, you'll think, there's no way this is gonna look good, but it will. So I'm pulling off my extra. Okay, you see how it looks very rough? I'm not going to push very hard, but it'll look kind of rough. So all I'm going to do, let me make sure my mister is working. Okay, that's a lot. So I only want to do just a little bit. And it gives just a fine mist. And then use my tool again and go over it. And it makes it just slick. Yes, freezer bags. I've done the mistake of putting it in, just your cheap 100 pack box of sandwich bags, and it dried out on me. And somebody mentioned it to me that sandwich bags are not airproof. I assumed they were because they were plastic. But if you get freezer bags, you're not supposed to get freezer burn, right? So that means the air is not going to get in there. So I flipped it over again, and it just popped right out. Oh, I love my little cap sleeve here. Turned out good. So you can see, I don't know if you guys can see, but right there is where I use the Surebond hot glue, right here, Surebonder, which works on everything, and it did not melt my styrofoam, but it didn't stick as good as I wanted either. So let me add a little more glue. Like I said, I'm just using the cheapo Elmer's wood glue. Okay, this one on. I'm going to have to cut this too when we come over here. But you know the little jewelry mannequins they're only about this tall? You can find those, they're paper mache at Hobby Lobby. And I want to say they're $9 or $12. and you can make a little one. I know it's not easy to come by these bigger ones. Well, at a price that's reasonable, unless you happen to have one lying around. Okay. Now, let's see if we can get this one on there. This bad boy. I'm so excited to see how this turns out. Like, crazy excited. I'm just going to butt that up against there. And I'm going to pull it here and hold it. And then use my handy dandy tool again. And slice that in. That looks pretty good. I'm not a measurer. Do you guys like get the tape measure out and center it? And can't do that. That's too much work. It takes the fun out of it. I'm just pushing everything down, making sure I don't have air bubbles. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. So now I got to figure out what do I want to fill this in with. And I was thinking to do the heirloom roses, like all over here. What do you guys think? I'm really digging the roses. Yeah, I think I want to do the roses. So I'm going to move this one aside. I don't think there's anywhere I need it. So I'm going to put that aside. I can't use it because it's got glue on it. But let's get... Now I just thought of something. Strategically, I got to watch where I place these roses because they're round. So, let me see here. Do I need to fill it in with roses? This one is Classic Elements. I really like the idea of the roses, don't you guys? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the roses. Okay, let's do a couple of these. And I think I'm gonna start with this one. Now I do know the heirloom roses is super deep. I don't know if you guys can see that, which means your mold that you cast is going to be thicker and a little heavier. So I want to be conscious of that when I'm placing this and how much glue I use. So we're going to use this one first. Whoops. Make sure I got it good and tight in there. I'm going to hold it down because I just put the cornstarch on there and I don't want it flipping out of the mold. I'm just going to cut a little bit away at a time. I can tell my clay is starting to get a little dry. So I think I'm going to squirt it again. Lightly. There we go. Nice and smooth. Okay. you guys ready? I'm gonna do this one up close so you guys can see it. Hi, Connie. Okay, there is the rose. I'm gonna pop it out. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Is my camera going in and out? I hope it's not. Ugh, so pretty. So, I'm gonna put it here. This is gonna be a lot of stinking roses and it's gonna be stinking cute. Okay. So let me see if I can remember which way I had it. Here we go. Now I have, I did some molds on a piece of furniture and I had to tape them in place with painter's tape so they wouldn't slide. So you could probably do that here if you needed to. Or I'm even thinking, because this is styrofoam, I could use toothpicks and then just make a paste with my paper clay and fill it in with my brush, which I'm going to show you that right up here. But let's do one more rose. Oh, isn't that pretty? One more rose. Let's do this little one next. Yeah. Remember, I'm trying to be strategic about the placement of my little roses. I don't want it to look like Madonna's top or anything, but I want you to be able to see the roses. Get some glue on me. There we go. Nice and tight. Pinching off my extra. Can't tell you how much I love this little tool. The like I mentioned, the putty knives or drywall knives, whatever you want to call them, work really well, but it hurts my wrist right in here after I do a few. So when I found this, and then some of my ladies in my workshops liked the grip on this as well. So this is the only thing I use. So here's the next one. There's another one. Isn't that pretty? Okay. So let's paint this one up. Oops, not too much. There we go. My glue is starting to dry on the top. All right. Now, rose number 2. On these thicker ones, I push in the middle gently and then work my way outwards just to make sure I kind of get any air bubbles that might be into there. Okay. So I think we're going to need another one here. And I may use the big one. Nope, I'm going to use this one again and go over here first. And then I'm going to make my paste after that, and we'll fill this in, and I'll show you guys how I do that. On some projects, you like the shrinkage in the cracks. But this one, I don't want as many shrinking areas. Out of my bag. Cut away my extra. And again, it's lifting because we prepped it with some cornstarch so that it comes out really easy. Did you guys see Vintage Charm Homestead's pie she made with these, with the roses? And the trimmings too, she used trimmings too. Oh my gosh, it's on my page, so you guys should go look at it if you haven't seen it. Gorgeous. So she did her pie crust because these are, the silicone molds are food grade safe. You just don't want to interchange your cooking mold with your paper clay mold. Okay. Flip that one out. See how easy that came out? There's that one. I'm going to put this one this direction. And then we'll work on our paste to fill in our gaps. Spreading my glue on. Now what I will do to get finished with the bodice for next Friday's live, I will do a bunch ahead of time and separate them with wax paper or parchment paper, sorry, and put them in the freezer. And that way when I'm ready, I can lay them out, and as they defrost, they become pliable again. And I'll be able to put them on here. There we go. Okay, I'm just checking all my previous, make sure nothing slid. Everything is still good. So let's make our paste real quick so you guys can see that. I'm going to use a tiny, tiny bit of paper clay. And a little bit of water. See if I got a popsicle stick. I do. So I'm just going to smash this up into a paste. And that way I can use either my popsicle stick or a brush, an artist brush, one of these little ones, to get in the cracks. And this is something too, you can make it ahead of time. I've got these little glass 2-ounce jars, and I make a little bit ahead of time when I'm doing a bigger project. So I'm not having to mix it while I'm working. Okay. So you can see it's just a paste. Take that. Let's use this brush. I just wet it a little bit is all I did. I'm going to take a little bit of this paste on my brush and I'll wipe it in there. This one's big enough, I think I could actually, this one's not, I can actually roll a little piece in there. Okay. Yep, it is big enough. I'm going to roll a little tiny Tootsie Roll size in there and then wipe it with my brush to blend it. that looks pretty good. I've got one right here. And then one in the center. That center will probably shrink a little more, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And then I'll use this same paste technique and go over any of these where they lift or anything overnight, where I don't want it to look like it's separated. I'm okay with this looking lifted because it's supposed to be like a lace strap, but like on here I'm going to want it to look like lace. So I'll probably go over after these are dry, and anywhere that it's shrunk a little too much for me, I'll do the same paste and fill that in. So here's where we are so far, and we'll come back next Friday. Hopefully I'll have it done to here, and we'll do some of the chaining on the back. For the chaining, I'm going to be using, where's my mold? This one. I'm going to be using this one right here on the trimmings too. And we're going to do a lot of draping on the back. All right, so thank you guys for watching. If you got any questions, be sure to post them in the comments, and I'll go back through later this evening and answer any questions. And I hope you guys come see me again on Friday. All right, have a good night.